GIs on board. At least one of them is hit pretty bad. We took a little fire on the way out of this pickup area.
We had heard about search and destroy missions and ambushes and even practiced them in officer candidate school and other places. But the reality of actually going out is a totally different thing. It's not like the movies where you go out in the field and then that evening you're back in a base camp drinking beer or smoking dope. We would go out 30, 35, 40 days at a time, 24/7.
In July of 1967, 19-year-old Second Lieutenant Barry Romo arrives in Vietnam. He replaces a platoon leader who was critically wounded by a landmine during a search and destroy operation. Now, Romo is in Quang Nam province, 300 miles north of where Charles Brown was wounded, leading his platoon of approximately 30 men on a similar mission with similar dangers.
Get down, take cover! Get down!
It's the not knowing that gets to you. The feeling that you're never safe, anywhere, at any time. Suddenly, mortars and gunfire are flying in from everywhere. No one knows what the hell is going on or where the enemy's even at. I start screaming at my men to get down and form a defensive perimeter. But everyone's yelling and shooting. And then I realize one of my squads got stuck between us and the enemy. They're caught in the crossfire, getting hit from both directions. I gotta do something, so I yell for cover, and I run forward as fast as I can to my squad. They're all injured. And every man was badly wounded.
And 2 of my men were dead. And one of my men had been thrown 100 feet, maybe, by concussion. And his insides were jellified. And I saw that I had to get him out of there.
I have to get them out of there, or more people are gonna die. Medevac doesn't want to land because we're taking too much fire. But I scream into the radio and I tell them, I'm gonna stand up in the middle of this damn field, and you better get in here and get my men out. When it's finally over and we get back to the platoon,
my company commander said, I'm going to put you in for a Bronze Star. In my mind, I could only picture a Bronze Star for my dead men. And it didn't seem worth it. It didn't seem fair that people should die for me to get a medal.
As U.S. losses begin to mount, President Johnson reminds the American people that the war is not only about stopping the spread of communism. There is an even greater cause worth fighting for in Vietnam.
Every American must know exactly what it is that we are trying to do in Vietnam. Our greatest resource, really, in this conflict is your understanding.
By the summer of 1967, the United States is sending more than $500 million in aid to South Vietnam. More than 1.5 million children are attending hundreds of new schools. And for the first time, hundreds of thousands of poverty-stricken civilians are receiving modern medical care.
Here's a goal that's worthy of the deeds of our brave men. The people of Asia do matter. And I pledge to all those that are counting on us, you can depend upon us. Because all Americans will do our part.
As long as Ben and I have been married, our lives have been run by the Army. But I guess that's the price you pay for falling in love with a military man.
Ann Purcell married Ben, a career military officer, in 1951. After 16 years of marriage, 5 children, and many moves, they are living in Boonville, Missouri, where he is stationed as a colonel.
Ben and I both know he'll be going to Vietnam sooner or later. So we figure if he volunteers to go to Vietnam, the family has a choice as to where they stay.
The family had a choice as to where they stayed, and we would stay in Boonville because it was already like home, having lived there 4 years. I dreaded seeing him go, but I knew that was his duty. And so I just accepted it that way.
Right before we leave to see Ben off, he surprises me with a pair of audio recorders. He's gonna take one to Vietnam with him, and I'll keep the other so we can record tapes and mail them back and forth. When we get to the airport, I give Ben one last kiss. And tell him he better try out that recorder as soon as he gets there. And let me know that everything's okay.
But the war Colonel Purcell is about to join is not going as planned. Although U.S. forces conduct hundreds of search and destroy operations, including massive sweeps involving up to 30,000 soldiers at a time, the North Vietnamese and Viet Cong are elusive, refusing to engage in lockdown, drawn-out combat. Finally, near the end of October 1967, U.S. forces locate 6,000 North Vietnamese soldiers massing near the American base at Dak To in Kon Tum province. More than 6,500 U.S. and South Vietnamese soldiers, along with attack helicopters, fighter bombers, and the mightiest aircraft in the U.S. arsenal, the B-52 bomber, are deployed to the region. November 3rd, 1967, shortly after mid-morning, the first group of 3 B-52s prepares to unleash nearly 6 tons of high explosives before the ground troops move in. The largest clash with the NVA since the Ya Drang Valley begins.
bombers have been coming in overhead. You can feel the ground shaking like jello.
Sergeant Charles Brown has recovered from his wounds and is back with the 173rd Airborne Brigade on his way to relieve American units engaged in heavy combat outside of Dak To.
We can hear the gunfire as we get closer. The sounds of M16s and AK-47s ripping through the jungle. The sounds of trees splintering. Men scream.
410, go.
A few paces ahead, the recon team radio's back. We walked right into an ambush. Now they stuck out there only a few meters ahead of us, screaming for help. We got to do something fast before they all get killed. CO jumps on the radio and tells them to hit the ground and stay down. Then he turns to me and instructs me to
take the rest of the platoon in to see what was going on. Knowing that my men in there was down, we went in firing from the waist up, just spraying the whole area. Brown Charles J., Staff Sergeant E6, awarded. Bronze Star Medal, First Oak Leaf Cluster, with V device. Reason for heroism in connection with military operation against